Business agents are only as useful as what they can securely reach. If an agent cannot access your CRM, documents, ticketing system, calendar, database, or internal APIs, it stays impressive in demos and weak in production. MCP, the Model Context Protocol, matters because it gives you a standard connector layer. Instead of reinventing every integration from scratch, you can expose capabilities through one reusable contract and let different agent hosts discover and use them in a consistent way. The biggest bottleneck is usually not the model. It is the integration surface. Many businesses wire agents to systems one by one, a CRM connector here, a separate ticketing wrapper there, then another custom layer for documents and databases. That creates a multiplying problem, because every new agent and every new system adds more auth logic, schema mapping, error handling, and governance decisions. The result is brittle automation, duplicated work, and slower rollout across the business. MCP is an open standard for connecting AI applications to external systems. The official introduction calls it a USB-C port for AI applications, and that metaphor is useful. MCP standardizes the connection contract. A host application can connect through an MCP client to an MCP server, then discover capabilities and use standardized primitives like tools, resources, and prompts. The architecture docs also separate the JSON-RPC data layer from the transport layer, which can be local STIO or remote streamable HTTP. This is the operating model to keep in mind. Instead of embedding each tool wrapper inside each agent, you place a reusable MCP connector layer between your agent hosts and your business systems. The layer exposes capabilities once, with standardized schemas and controls. Different hosts can then discover and use the same capabilities. That lowers integration debt, makes rollouts faster, and gives security and governance teams one place to focus their controls. Where does MCP create outsized value? Usually in workflows that need context from more than one system and where the decision path is clear. Revenue operations is a classic example, because the agent may need CRM records, call notes, enablement docs, and calendars. Support triage often needs tickets, knowledge bases, and product context. Finance, renewal monitoring, executive research, and HR onboarding can all benefit for the same reason. The agent becomes more useful when it can combine read access, standardized tools, and human review where needed. From a business perspective, MCP is not only about technical elegance. It improves operating leverage. Rollouts get faster because each new system can be exposed through a common contract. Integration debt drops because connector logic becomes reusable platform infrastructure. And portability improves, because the business is less tightly bound to one host application or one model stack. The real value compounds as a pilot workflow turns into a reusable connector layer that many business agents can share. Security matters more as soon as your agents can read sensitive systems or trigger real actions. The official MCP guidance says HTTP-based transports should follow the authorization specification, which is based on OAuth 2.1 conventions, while STIO servers typically use credentials from the local environment instead. The security best practices document also calls out risks such as confused deputy problems, token pass-through, SSRF, session hijacking, and scope minimization. In practical business terms, start with narrow scopes, trust only vetted servers, log tool usage, and keep right actions behind explicit approvals. A practical rollout usually works best in 4 phases. First, choose one high-value workflow with a clear owner and clear success criteria. Second, start read-heavy. Search, fetch, lookup, and context retrieval are safer and often deliver value quickly. Third, add approvals, logs, and narrow scopes before you trust right actions. And fourth, scale only after the connector layer proves reusable. If you are connecting through ChatGPT, the product docs also note that right tools require manual confirmation, and that metadata should be refreshed when the tool list changes. Here is a practical example. Imagine a renewal risk agent that needs signals from CRM, billing, support, and call notes. Without a standard connector layer, that logic often turns into a pile of custom wrappers. With MCP, the agent can search and fetch context from multiple sources through one standardized interface, run a scoring or summarization step, and return a reviewed recommendation. The business outcome is not just a score. It is a traceable suggested action, ideally still reviewed by a human before anything customer-facing is sent. The big idea is simple. One standard connector layer is better than dozens of brittle one-off integrations. MCP will not remove the need for good metadata, security controls, or thoughtful workflow design. But it does give you a reusable contract that makes those things easier to build once and apply many times. So the best place to start is not with the biggest possible autonomous agent. It is with 2 or 3 core systems, read-heavy workflows, explicit approvals, and a connector layer you can reuse as your agent strategy grows. Thanks for watching.